Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of our top 10 energy weapon mods for Fallout 4. So, like I said in the last episode of this, just in case you missed it, we split this one up into 2 videos because I want to make sure that these energy weapons get all of the attention that they need, because some of them have some really cool features and different firing modes that I want to show off and kind of sell the weapon to you guys as a reason to download it. We have 5 more finishing up the list. Some of these have some really cool alternative firing modes, some unique twists, as well as some completely new ideas or takes on old ideas that maybe got a little bit of an upgrade. So we'll go ahead and get right into this with our first mod, which is going to be the CrossBrake Action Laser by Niero. Now, there are a million reasons that I love this mod. First of which, a ton of skins that are always available with Niero's mods, so long as you go and check them out from his Gumroad, which you can find on his Nexus page. Now, the CrossBrake Action Laser is a really interesting and unique idea for an energy weapon mod. It is almost exclusively a shotgun. It was created with the intention of it being a shotgun anyways, however there are some things you can do to change that. It actually does have a handful of different firing modes that convert it into completely different styles of weapon, but it utilizes the vanilla sawed-off shotgun animation on an energy weapon. I know that's interesting and weird, but it totally works. So you crack this thing open and you shove in an entire fusion cell for a few quick shots of really high damage. And again, with some really cool, unique alternative firing modes. The first of which being the standard scatter shot, which is going to function like a shotgun. So you get to shoot this thing 3 times with the normal attachments, and it fires 3 scattered laser shots like the normal scatter shot. And then you reload a whole new fusion cell, packs a big punch, and it looks really cool. I especially love that the design of this weapon looks like it belongs in Fallout 4, because it uses the normal Fallout 4 laser rifle as inspiration, but with, again, a unique twist on it. The next really cool barrel that you can add onto this thing is the Lobber, which converts this thing into a grenade launcher. Yes, an energy grenade launcher. And there are even some custom sights that you can add on that actually give you a pretty cool little grenade launcher reticle, but it's a little holographic red dot style thing, and those two paired together are super cool. I really like the aesthetic of that, and a unique twist on an energy weapon for sure. And then finally you have a discharge barrel, and that is going to combine all of that damage into one super beam. So essentially it's like a regular laser rifle, except it's a ton of damage in one large beam. You could throw a long scope on this thing, and its ballistic equivalent would be essentially running slugs in a shotgun, except it's an energy weapon. So, I don't know. It's interesting and neat. It may seem like just a regular laser rifle, but with the idea behind it, it's pretty cool, and I really like it. An interesting, unique take on energy weapons from Niero. Alright, so moving on, we have AnotherOne's Laser RCW by AnotherOne, of course. And this mod adds the Laser RCW from New Vegas fame into Fallout 4. This actually takes Monkey Depot's SMG and takes a lot of parts of that, as well as some parts from other mods, and converts it into a standalone Laser RCW, which is just absolutely beautiful. We're actually going to take a second here in a little bit to just listen to the sounds of this thing and look at the animations, because they need some time on their own. Now, there isn't a ton in the way of changing the fire modes on this one, but it is pretty simple. It's just like the Laser RCW from before. It is a Thompson that shoots lasers, and that is essentially it. But there's some really cool modifications and ways to change this weapon into a few different types of RCWs. They don't change the fire mode necessarily, but they do change some aspects visually as well as the animations, so that's super cool. So, for starters, let's get a look at the regular version of the Laser RCW. So here we are with a really cool equip animation. And just listen to this thing fire. It's a really nice energy sound. And the reload. Beautiful. And I love the iron sights on this thing too. Very simple, easy to use. Now, if you actually change the receiver, it changes you from a stick mag to a drum mag. So let's take a look at how that looks like. Now, it's not exactly like the classic Laser RCW where you pull the charge pack out of the front of the drum, but that's fine. This one looks just as nice. And then if you want to get crazy with it, you can put some super futuristic sci-fi parts on this thing and you can end up with something like this. Pretty crazy little laser SMG we got here. I gotta say, I've always been a big fan of the laser RCW, and I used Mike Moore's for a very long time, but this is an awesome new modern upgrade to it. I especially love the two different magazine types, incorporating the traditional ballistic weapon style of a magazine, and then throwing the energy charge packs or the fusion cells, whatever you want to call it. On top of that, looks super awesome. I love the design of this one. And thanks to AnotherOne and everybody who contributed assets to this one, because this is a super awesome mod. Alright, so next up we have the X12 Plasmacaster by Utherien, or TheBigLidowski, and we actually did a full review of this weapon when it came out a while back on the channel, and this thing is rich and full of crazy content, so we're actually going to flip over to some live stuff so you can see all of the nitty-gritty details of what is included in this one, because there is a lot of it. So for starters, this actually comes with its own mod config menu. So if you open up your MCM and we head over to X12 Plasmacaster, we have some options. We have the ability to change fire modes, because this weapon not only has different firing types by barrel you attach, but each of those has an additional alternative fire mode that you can toggle at whim. So I have mine set to G. You also have options for laser sights and flashlights that you can toggle on and off, as well as some scope options and different features that different scopes have available. And what we're going to really focus on right now is those alternative fire modes, because I think that is the biggest selling point of this weapon, along with its beautiful custom animations, models, and textures. So for starters, I actually have the X12 equipped with no sight on, but in reality it does have a sight, even though it doesn't appear that way in the weapons bench. So when we equip it, if you saw that, there's a sweet animation with some flip-up sights, and you can put them away as well. I really like that, and I can't think of another mod that has something like that included. And I'm pretty sure these reticles all change depending on which firing mode you have equipped, so that's really cool. What we have here is a fully automatic version of the Plasmacaster, which is pretty normal. Very cool custom animation there, reminds me of some of the Borderlands weapons. I like it a lot. And now we're going to hit G and toggle our fire mode. So now we can switch to semi-automatic. So that is pretty cool. Now on top of that, every time you upgrade this weapon, you have the option to add an overcharge module. And doing so will allow you to press another hotkey, which will change it to the underbarrel firing mode. So not only can you switch between fully automatic and semi-automatic on the fly, but you also have these alternate firing modes. So we have our regular barrel on here that shoots plasma out. Here is the underbarrel for that module. And as you see, we have an underbarrel plasma grenade launcher, and this thing actually bounces with a timed delay explosion. Super cool. And then if we fire our last one, we even have a unique reload for this thing, which is super cool. And then we switch back to our regular one. Isn't that interesting? Let's check out the other 3 barrels included, as well as their underbarrel attachments, and then we'll move on to the next mod. Okay, so here we have the X12 with the accelerator barrel, which is essentially going to be your sniper, with a super awesome reticle and scope. And it fires pretty simply. It just shoots much faster, so this can be used better at range. Now how about the alternative fire mode? If your regular one was a grenade launcher, this one becomes a missile launcher. Same concept, it fires the bullet much faster and at extended range, so it turns into essentially a plasma missile. Pretty cool one. Let's move on to the next. So here we have what is essentially the shotgun variant of the X12. We have our scatter barrel on. And you can even have this thing in full auto, as you see, which just hurls plasma. Now how about that underbarrel? Exactly what you would expect. It's essentially a MIRV effect on plasma grenades. And then finally we have our targeting barrel, which is going to function a little bit differently. It's essentially the regular version of the X12, except now you can actually lock onto enemies and all of your bullets will go right to it. And for the underbarrel, it's pretty much exactly the same thing. We can target, and we get an explosive result. The X12 is definitely a crazy weapon with lots of utility. A really cool one that you should absolutely try checking out, and it's on PC as well as Xbox. For our fourth mod of the video, we have the Wattz laser rifle by Deadpool2099. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might have seen this weapon pop up a few times, and we actually did a full breakdown of the whole weapon in a mod throwback not too long ago. This takes an awesome spin on the classic Wattz laser rifle from Fallout lore, and gives it a nice modern touch and upgrade. Some of the best custom animations I've ever seen on a weapon mod, so that's really, really cool. And fully utilizes Fallout 4's customization through the weapons workbench to really take advantage of all of those features. And this thing adds a whole lot. Not only is it a fully functional energy rifle, but you can actually convert it into a pistol as well, which gets its own unique custom animations, which we will be showing at the end of the B-roll footage here. And there are also a ton of unique versions of the weapon that you can find out in the world, including an Institute version which fires blue lasers, or even the Enclave version which shoots out plasma bolts as opposed to your traditional lasers, which makes this really cool and an awesome one for all of those weapon collectors who like going out and finding unique weapons like I do. This is essentially the energy weapon counterpart of the service rifle, which makes sense as it is the same mod author, so this one is really, really cool. Every time you use this weapon, you can tell just how much effort went into the handcrafted models and textures, as well as those beautiful animations. And I love the touch of the little ammo counter at the back, similar to the one from the Gauss rifle in the vanilla game. Looks super awesome, and I love how it works and sounds. The sounds in this mod are also incredible, so we'll be sure to make a little section where you can listen to just the audio of this weapon firing, because it is really awesome. And finally, with our last mod, we have the CrossPlaz Rail by Niero. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe this is one of the oldest weapons on this list. So that's pretty interesting. So the CrossPlaz Rail is another one of those mods with just way too many customization options. We definitely can't cover it in this video, but I would love to do a mod throwback for this one because there is a lot to offer here, including Niero's old school palette system where you pick a pattern and then you pick the colors that go with said pattern, and that's really cool. And I love that style for the Fallout 4 weapon customization, and I really wish that was available for all weapons, but it isn't. Anyways, this thing has a ton of firing modes, so we're going to go ahead and check those out live like we have been doing for the other weapons in this video. So let's go ahead and see what is available for the CrossPlaz Rail. Alright, so here we are with the quote-unquote standard version of the CrossPlaz Rail, and this is a pretty interesting looking weapon. Even when you have no sights equipped, you get this nice little V in the carry handle there, so that's pretty cool to line up your shot. And this is the standard barrel. As you can see, it shoots a very fast lob of plasma that explodes on impact, sort of like a grenade launcher. And this thing actually does have drops, so if you shoot it far, it will arc after a while, but it does take a bit to get there. As for reloads, this thing doesn't use a custom animation, but it actually recycles the missile launcher animation from vanilla Fallout 4. And I think that looks pretty cool. It lines up pretty nicely, so definitely a good idea using that one there. Let's check out another barrel. Trying to stay semi-standard before we get into some of the crazy stuff, here we have the arc, which is going to shoot out an arc of energy damage, similar to the lightning weapon from the Automatron DLC. Except now it is plasma based, so it is nice and green. And if you have the improved version of this barrel, it will actually jump from enemy to enemy. Pretty cool one, I like it a lot. Now, this one's pretty crazy. It is called the Crystallizer Barrel, and it says that it shoots out shards of plasma energy, but essentially it's a scatter shot. Whenever we fire it, it works similar to a shotgun, but you will notice that when it hits things, there's a pretty interesting little crystal effect. So that's neat. Moving on to our next one, we have the Disc Throwing Barrel, which shoots out discs of plasma. Yeah, discs. So let's check that one out. It is very similar to the standard barrel, except discs. And then finally, we have the flamer barrel. And you would think that it's just a standard old plasma flamer, but it is not. It functions a little bit differently. It is a burst flamer, so rather than holding down the trigger and it firing all willy-nilly and at a short range, you click it once, it fires at a quick burst of flamer, and it actually has some pretty long range, so that's pretty cool. Let's try it out. Very interesting and unique take on the flamer barrel for this weapon. I also really like the fire effects over there. That combination of orange and green is pretty cool. And with that, we finally bring this video to a close. A bit of a longer one, but definitely worth it to check out all of the details in some of these mods. And even then, that's not everything. We may touch on some of these again in some future mod throwbacks. But hey, if you liked any of these mods or used them before, go out there and support the mod authors. They may have Patreon links or some other form of donation, or just endorse the mod. Anything you can do to contribute and let them know that you're there and that you appreciate them, because it is because of those mod authors that we get to enjoy Fallout 4 so late in its life cycle. They make such amazing mods and they do it tirelessly. So we definitely owe it to them every time we launch Fallout in a modded state. And if you enjoyed this video, drop a like, subscribe, all those things that gets us into the algorithm and gets more mod recommendations to the people that are looking for them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.